I went out exploring and I got told off for trespass.
Yeah, mate, I'm just flying my drone. Just flying my drone.
Yeah, fly it down, buddy.
Okay, I'll get off it, sorry.
And what I can't believe is how polarising online this topic has been when I've posted to social media. But what are the UK trespass laws? Let's get into it. To set the scene, I'd walked down a public right-of-way footpath and I'd stumbled across a field. It was a field on a very slanty hill. There was no signs of livestock and there was no signs of anyone, to be honest with you. It was in the middle of nowhere. Somebody, I don't know whether it was the landowner, but somebody came over and said that this is private land, please get off it. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm going to leave. In my opinion, they should have left it there. I was very sorry. I am still very sorry that I went on your land. However, they then went on to say stuff about the aviation in that area. And I'd already spoken, and this is the contrast, and I think this is where online people just see something and it's very, very black and white. However, the person that he brought up was another, which I've mentioned in another video, another landowner, super nice, said I could fly on his land as long as there's no livestock. Unfortunately, I think that's going to be the only place I can really fly at the moment, with potential of not getting into any trespass problems. And that was the thing in this video that irritated me. It wasn't being kicked off his land. I was on the guy's land. I was getting kicked off, that's fine, I apologised, I was leaving. And then the guy was making up stuff about the rights to fly, which then antagonised me. And this is why I'm making the video, this is why I posted it online. The post got deleted from Reddit, and that's what kind of provoked me to make this video, is it was doing well around lunchtime in the UK, in the evening, went to bed, and it had been deleted in the morning. And now what I'd realised is I've had a friend who said it's probably our great friends across the pond who have stricter laws where it comes to trespass. Whether in the UK, it is a civil matter. A number of comments on my videos I uttered in my breath, and this is what is crazy. I was literally almost out of the field, and I uttered profanities. A lot of people picked up on that. I've had a few comments say, why didn't you say that to his face? Well, guess what? Because it becomes a criminal matter. If I'm on someone else's land and I become threatening, that is when the police can get involved, and that is when I think you're being out of touch with reality. And that's also another point to what I thought was so polarising, is a lot of people had said how well I dealt with it, and a number of people who I think could be landowners, large landowners, were saying how well the guy had dealt with it and how terribly I dealt with it. I said sorry and I was leaving. I don't know how much better people expect me to deal with that situation. I stayed calm. I didn't want to get into any problems. I respected the guy's decision to make it obvious that it was private land. But it went full circle. And like I say, he was then bringing up the airspace, saying that I couldn't fly in the airspace, which is incorrect. And the fact that there was a helipad quite close by and there was helicopters, and I used the app, as I said to the guy, use the app. I'd spoken to that landowner, and that's where the agitation from his point, he was like, yeah, well, he doesn't own this land. And it's like, yeah, and the contrast between landowners, I've spoken to, I think, 4 now, and the contrast between, this has been the worst one. So to have comments online saying he dealt with it really well kind of shocks me and surprises me, but there's always going to be people out there that have a contrasting view. I just think the other 3 people I've dealt with, far superior in dealing with me being on their land, and much nicer, much more level headed conversations. And I don't want to cause grief. Like, that's the thing. I just want to go out and fly my drone. I'm not trying to cause any problems, and that's why I said sorry, I'm leaving. Like, again, trespass. And the other point that people bring up is, oh, you wouldn't want people trespassing in your garden. One, I don't have a garden, and I think that also shows the privilege of that comment. A lot of people, especially in the UK, don't have access to a garden. So if you've got access to a field, it's a very different thing. Amazes me that people, and I don't want to point any fingers at certain countries, but it amazes me that people can't see that grey area. I wasn't flying anywhere near the house. I wasn't flying anywhere near expensive cars. So I fully appreciate and understand that if you're trespassing, especially near stuff that's worth money, including livestock, I understand that, like, that is infuriating. But I was in the middle of nowhere, next to a public footpath, and a lot of that area has public footpaths. So, I was testing my luck. Got told to move on, and that's fine. And I moved on, I apologised, didn't realise, and it just amazes me that then people get really defensive about the guy's reaction with me and the way that he then started going on about aviation, which he doesn't have a right to talk about. And thankfully, and this is the other aspect of it, is I didn't get agitated, I didn't get threatening, because then it becomes a criminal matter, and I will forever try and remain calm It transitions across from skateboarding, skateboarding in the streets. People get funny about that as well. Public space. It's amazing how humans want to have control over specific areas, and especially in public areas when you're skateboarding, there's always Karens telling you can and can't do something, even though they actually have no jurisdiction over you or that area. The criminality in the UK is if you're causing damage, if you refuse to leave and become aggressive, which I didn't. Once I was out the field, I was a bit aggressive towards myself. I don't even think I remembered the GoPro was recording, and I was calling him names, which is very juvenile. But at that point, I'm away from the scene, and I can't think of how many people have commented that probably have had a driving circumstance where someone cuts them up and they swear in the moment. I don't know why. We're all human. I don't know why that was concentrated on instead of all the nonsense that was being told to me afterwards, which was misinformation. So I wasn't doing any of those things, and that means that the landowner has the right to ask you to move on. And if I comply, civil matter, no harm done, I move on, which is exactly what happened. And couldn't ask for a better scenario on either side. Like, landowner was very good, I was very good. The only thing that I was pinpointing, which I think seemed to get breezed over because I was trespassing, and that's a very conflicting point, is the fact that some people then decide he was then taking jurisdiction over the air and telling me what I can and can't do in the air. Well, unfortunately, at the moment, currently, you cannot do that. And that is what I took. That's why I got a bit frustrated. But then at the same time, I can see his frustration with me being in his land. So, no harm done, move on. The fact that, and this is, I think, the bit that got breezed over by a number of possible landowners and people that got that were very sensitive towards the topic and were defending him, is that he then brought up completely irrelevant information. The information regarding the skies was incorrect, was false, and was irritating to bring up something which, you've already stated, can you leave? Yes, I can leave. Oh, by the way, you can't fly here. I didn't want to get into an argument, and I said that I'd check the drone app, but I could fly there. I just can't take off from his land, which is what I was doing, and that's the thing that was incorrect. I didn't know. We move on. But to bring up something completely irrelevant after someone's apologised is what irked me, I think. And a lot of the comments as well were like, "Oh, there's poachers. What if there's poachers? What if there's people, stealing stuff? There is always people doing those things, but you can't run life on what ifs. You can't run society and law on what ifs like that." It amazes me that people think that, and it's a very dark road to go down. At the end of the day, I was fully respecting his request, and I was trying to do it as calmly as possible. He did come out of nowhere, which was quite funny. It was on like a steep embankment and suddenly appeared, which I thought was quite funny. My final point in this is that my Reddit post that got deleted this morning, that I posted yesterday, it went from being, I had some really nice comments on there saying they watched the YouTube channel and they were a massive fan. Thank you. There's a lot of people saying that I handled the situation very well. Went to bed, and just as I was going to bed, that was when the tide turned, and I believe, allegedly, that's when Canada and the USA wake up and they have a lot stricter rules on private land ownership. And this got me thinking, because I'm half Scottish, half English, and in Scotland you have the right to roam. You have the right to roam and you have the right to camp. So there's very, very different laws in different countries. And if you're someone who's insular and you live in your country and you only think that those rules exist throughout the world and you're ignorant in that way, that's fine. But there is a lot of countries that allow right to roam. England isn't one of them, but anything that is trespass is civil, not criminal. So I kind of get that. I quite like that rule, especially if you're a farmer and you have livestock on there. You don't want people bothering your livestock. In Scotland, you've got the right to roam, right to camp. And I thought I'd do a quick bit of research because I couldn't believe how polarising this topic was. And I love watching stuff like Botgrinder and XJet, and they do bring up these kind of topics with regards to law. And one of the things that was super interesting to me was Scotland, Sweden, Norway, a number of Central and Eastern European countries still have the right to roam and still allow the population to enjoy the world that we live in, which is just fantastic. And man, do I need to move to a Scandinavian country? And what I thought was really interesting is that the countries that have strict private land ownership would be, well, the top ones that came back when I asked ChatGPT was the US, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, which I think is absolutely hilarious. If you don't see the irony, I can't help you. But those 4 countries were top 4 of strict privacy laws, and that coincides with the post doing well and then suddenly doing badly, in the fact that Canada and US had woken up, or they'd got back from work, they'd seen my post and they got irritated with it. But it is also interesting that a lot of the countries that allow right to roam and freedom of access of land and to enjoy the world also have the ability to have really good universal public healthcare. And it's very contrasting that I feel that a lot of the commentators were possibly, allegedly, I don't want to upset anyone in the United States, but it's interesting that I think a lot of the comments, especially on Reddit, were from the United States, where, you can get shot if you go on someone's land, and then they don't have any, universal basic public health care. Very contrasting on that level, and I did find that an interesting thing. Although, having said that, Canada, Australia, New Zealand also do have good universal public health care that I'm aware of. So yeah, finally, what do you think? I am going to leave the comments, which is going to be, I know it's going to be dangerous, but I'm going to leave the comments unbarred. I know YouTube has already, it already had flagged a number of the comments that had come up on the original post on the YouTube short video that I'd posted. I just deleted anything on social media that was kind of negative, just deleted it. I just can't be bothered with the negativity, the misinterpretation, misunderstanding of the original post. That's fine. Reddit deleted my post, which I'm kind of glad of, because it only seemed to be getting hive mind downvoted after I'd gone to bed, and there was a lot of comments kind of pointing the finger at me, which is fine. I posted it. I think the funniest thing is that people don't realise the person behind the post, and I understand that what I did was wrong. I am now apologising to the landowner. I'm not going to go back there. I could easily cause other issues just being a nuisance, but I'm not going to. I don't see the point in that, and I think that's bad. So I'll be respecting that person's privacy. Won't be going back there, and I apologise, as I did in the instance. I don't know what more I could do, unfortunately, but a lot of people on Reddit seem to go in on me, which is fair enough. So that post is gone. You'll never be able to see all the comments, the lovely comments. Thank you ever so much for your comments on there. I did do one comment which I kind of regret, but thankfully no one can see it now. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm going to let you comment down there, and I am not going to get involved with negative comments. I will just like and move on. But thank you for watching the video. Like and subscribe. Check out my other videos which aren't so controversial, and go out and enjoy flying, because that's the main thing, really. I just love the hobby. I love FPV. It's so fun. And finally, separate to that, I did see a comment about the fact that someone had made a video about the restricting military use within drones. And I made that video, and again, I think it gets lost in translation in some countries, is kind of tongue-in-cheek. It was kind of being cheeky. Like, obviously, 100%, you're not going to be able to generally restrict, unfortunately, like war and war crimes. Even now, we're seeing some horrendous things happening throughout the world that are meant to be banned by the Geneva Convention, and they're still happening. So obviously, I know that, and I think it isn't obvious, that's why I'm saying it in this video, that video was made in kind of tongue-in-cheek, in the fact that there's so many rules in every country, including England, that the drone rules are getting tighter and tighter, while they become really unrestricted within a really sad area of humanity. And that was kind of I was being serious with my points, but I was making a kind of tongue-in-cheek jest at the fact that they're never going to be regulated. And that's why is it that in society things are heavily regulated, like land ownership and drone usage, yet in war it's just like, do what you want. See you in the next video, I hope. if YouTube doesn't delete this one.